Welcome back to Atlantis TV. In our last segment, we discussed the value system and the influence of culture and tradition. We ended with the influence of culture and tradition in our value system. I still have in the studio with me Mr. Ani Eluku and Mr. Uyi Omori Gubon.
Uyi Omori Gubon.
Thank you so much for correction.
Thank you.
We discussed the influence of culture and tradition. Now, what, in your opinion, would you think culture and tradition affects our value system?
Okay, talking about culture and tradition in relation to my dear country, Nigeria. You see, Nigeria is a country that is so blessed with a vast amount of natural resources. Presently, it's a population of about 190 million. You see, in Nigeria, we have three major languages. We have the Igbo, Hausa, and the Yoruba, amongst other smaller tribes or ethnic groups that are embedded in the country. I mentioned these major languages because all these languages, they all have different cultures which are intertwined. You see, earlier on, you called my name, and I had to give you a little correction. That is a manifestation of my value system or my culture affecting me there. Because I'm, by tribe, I'm a Benin man from Edo State. We take it as a very, of very high consequence. When you introduce somebody, you have to call his name correctly. Otherwise, it would have a wrong impression of you. Well, I'm not trying to be archaic here or trying to sound ancient, but we are discussing value system. And I think what I'm saying is not out of order. It's in consonant with our topic presently. So talking about culture, you see, a value system as it is embodies a multiplicity of cultures. You see, the basic thing is they all have basic characteristics. We talk about value system, how it affects our culture. We're talking about a common order or passion in the scale of preferences of your choice. You know, your value affects your attitude. Like I said earlier in our initial shoots, that your value, like we all have personal values based on the information we have received over time. Because when you're talking about the value system, we also have some systems which are embedded in our tradition and culture. You see, your activity today, which you indulge in, forms the culture of tomorrow. There's a saying that says your action today is the history for the future. You see, over time, like in Nigeria as a case study, we have is plummeted with multifaceted, multiplicity of cultures. And you see, when we're growing up, even till date, my children, when they wake up in the morning, they must greet me in my local dialect, because that's the way I was brought up. That is culture there. But it's a different ballgame when you're in the modern, in the Western society. You see people that are even younger than you, that you could even be their grandfathers, they just come and say hi. Where I come from, you don't accept that. There's a distinguishing, there's a difference. You have to put the age of the person you are saying hey or hi to in perspective. But in some other school of thought, they will say, oh, that is ancient. We're in the modern world. You know, when we become too passive and become too lackadaisical, we are not drawn to the effects of our culture as we're made to be, according to the tribe and how we're brought up in Africa and in that part of the world. That's where we start to have deviations. That's where we start to have pollution in our attitudes. You see, like a woman, for instance, from where I come from, can never be sitting with her legs, you know, astride. Because of culture, from childhood, a child is taught to sit with her legs together. So we are very conscious of gender, we are conscious of gender posture and all whatnot. There are a lot of things that are tied to culture. Even when you talk about dignity, in the old days, the concept Nigeria was founded on a very rich culture, because Africans are known to have very rich culture. You see, the culture, we have multi-facets of culture. We have a lot of culture that affects our value system. I think for now, I will want to hold on to my briefs and we'll continue later.
Thank you so much, Mr. Wee. I want to believe from what you have said that the value system is a very complex topic to discuss within the African context. Given the multicultural society that we have found ourselves. Mr. Anioluku, how do you really see culture and tradition affecting our value system?
One clear example that I will give that shows the evolution of value system as it relates to culture and tradition is, there used to be a time when the family name, your family name means a lot. There used to be a time when if you do something, it's not just you that thing is affecting. There's this thing about protecting the family name. And whenever you are, as a child, you're leaving home, your parents will tell you, protect our family name. Because you are going out there, you're representing the family. That was what it used to be traditionally. But with the evolution of time and with the coming of this modern, so-called modern culture, there's come that individuality, that you are there for yourself alone. That is why these days a lot of people do things, they just do things for themselves, thinking about themselves alone, not taking into consideration their family name or their community, that whatever they do will affect their community. And you can even see it beginning to play out now, in even outside around the world. If anybody does something now, despite the fact that there are over 100 million Nigerians, 4 or 5 people some Nigerians commit a crime, it goes all in the news, Nigerian scammers, forgetting all the other hundreds of millions of Nigerians who are doing good things around. So traditionally, we need to go back to that traditional part of seeing the effects of value system and find a way to join it, to mix it, to merge it with the modern culture.
What you're saying is that in those days it used to take a village to raise a child, like we all would agree, but lately it's no longer the case. And that actually is changing our value system from the communal perspective to the very individual perspective.
Yeah, correct.
If you both agree with me on that, then I think that takes us to completely a different angle where we're going to treat this. We'll be right back when we come back in the next segment. Yeah.